Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Harness Racing, the big fish, little fish. I am obviously the little fish, he is the big fish. Craig Thompson in Invercargill today. It's 11 races. First one's at 12:05. So far the racing down there has been really competitive.
It has, and we've seen a few more Canterbury Raiders head down there for the good stake money, Michael. It's adding to their interest down there. I think their turnover has been quite good in the last couple of weeks, so looking forward to see what happens on Saturday. Of course, with the resumption of galloping now, they don't get the sole limelight, but surely I think this week, with the fields that they've got carded, I think they'll do very well.
Yeah, raises a really interesting question about domestic racing. There's only one galloping meeting on Saturday, obviously, at Riccarton, so it seems harness is now being bumped across the trackside too on Saturdays, and I'm not sure that's fair when you're considering that Australian racing's taking the spot which probably should go to domestic racing. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about that. I don't think meetings should go from one channel to the other. I think that's really confusing, but I do think it's kind of weird that, you know, Invercargill, Southland's part of our country, and yet they have to get in the queue behind, not so much Melbourne and Sydney because they are big meetings, but, you know, behind the likes of some of the American racing we saw on television last Saturday morning. Some of that American racing, Craig's just absolute rubbish. And the fact that we're putting that on instead of Invercargill on trackside one, to me, doesn't seem right, to be honest.
Well, I think what's happening, Michael, and I've been very disappointed in that, and the fact that we're getting maybe a minute and a half, 2.5 minutes lead into an Invercargill race, and we're getting the same lead into a race, as you say, from offshore and then American racing with very little in the pools. Surely we've got to concentrate on our domestic product. If any time now is the most urgent time to be doing that, and I feel if we got to get 3 or 4 minutes, I mean, surely the domestic product has to be our priority. I think I agree with you. If we're racing the gallops on a Saturday afternoon, surely the harness, which can start a little bit earlier, and the major part of trackside one can be their large coverage. I think nothing better than the New Zealand whole audience watching a gallops meeting from Riccarton in conjunction with Invercargill. The galloping code will cross-code and bet on both, Michael. And I think we can certainly, something that the TAB need to look at. Even if they took the first 8 races from Invercargill on trackside one, I think that'll certainly give them a bigger identity on the day than what they're getting at the moment.
Yeah, because both you and I, Craig, have worked for trackside in the past, and by no means we're not working for them at the moment. Is that sour grapes? I just think the industry deserves a bit more respect, because what we find is on a galloping meeting, you have lead-in times which are bigger, and then obviously you have the head-to-head betting, for example. In harness racing, that seems to have almost disappeared. So I think harness needs a fairer bite of the apple, but that's maybe a story for another day. Last week at Invercargill, we saw a really good trotter return for Team Williamson, one of the factions of Team Williamson, when Ultimate Stride won, and he was really good. Another one turns up for a different Williamson today. Brad Williamson in race 7 drives Cracker Hill. He's only had 1 start this season. This campaign. Ran second to Tuatana. We know how good that form is. I thought he was the absolute special of the day, Craig.
Well, only bad luck would have him beaten. He drops into the right race as the highest rated horse, and it's a mobile, Michael. To be fair, he'd be giving this lot 30 or 40 metres. It was a standing start, so he just gets into the right race. A bit like the full Williamson trained runner last week, Ultimate Stride, found the right race from a mobile, and I think the barrier draw just out wide just gives him a chance to work across. He was great sectionally-wise with Tuatana in that race. They were in some incredible sectionals. So you don't have to replicate that to win, Michael. You might have to take the short odds, but if you're multing up a few on the day, he's certainly one you've got to have it.
Okay, what else have you found us? Because I found this quite a difficult meeting because it's quite big fields. And often I find it in Invercargill, Craig, if you've got to come wide when they go those really nice solid times over 2200, it can be quite hard. So a 7th one week can very easily become a 1st, 2nd or 3rd the following week, depending on whether you're wide and back or up close and on the speed.
Yeah, 2 runners I want to highlight to you, Michael. Top end of the card and the back end of the card. The back end of the card, I thought American Airtime has been going great. She's a lovely filly with exceptional speed, drawn barrier 2. We saw her lead up last week and got gunned down by See You Right, who's quite a nice horse. This week she gets a lovely draw, and I don't think the field has the same depth as it had last week. I thought Brent Barclay will just go forward, be positive, and I thought it's a race that she can win. Of course, This one was formerly trained by the Shamils, now with Brent Gray. Really nice type, and I think she'll go very close later in the program. The one I want to highlight earlier in the program is a Williamson trotter. They lined up All Craze to win last week, Michael. You mentioned her a couple of weeks ago as a horse to follow, and she went a very good race first up and won last week. They've got another really nice debut maiden trotter going around this week called Springbank Mason. 3 times off the property, 3 trials, 3 wins. Its pedigree is quite interesting. It's out of a mare called Armbro Demon. She only ever had 10 starts, Michael. She won 5, and of those 5 wins, one of them was on Cup Day over 2 miles, and the 2-mile trot, the less trot on the day. I think that was back in 2011. This one, by Majestic Sun, looks really nice, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wins on debut. So race 3, number 7, Springbank Mason, to give the Williamsons another winner in a maiden trot later on into the program to an American Airtime. Maybe multi those 2 up with the very short-priced Cracker Hill for a 3-leg multi.
Yeah, is he very big? Because Armbro Demon was a little tiny rat of a thing, but man, she could trot. That. Remember her winning that first race on Cup Day. She could really go.
Yeah, she was a really good mare, and she, as I said, she'd only had limited starts. I think she was injury prone, 10 starts, 5 wins, but she's had a couple of foals. I think this one's the first one they've got to the race. It's very interesting to see how it goes on Saturday.
Okay, mate, looking forward to talking to you tomorrow because we have another big card coming up out of Addington.